What's up guys? In this video, I'll show you exactly how Whitney extracted $27,000 from a small Instagram audience in 31 days with a brand new and untrained setter. And as you can see, she only has an audience of 7,140 followers, but still collected $27,000 in revenue. And so, of course, she does it with something that we all do. We have our top of funnel here, where we get people inside our audience to grow it with reels, with organic content, or perhaps a profile funnel that you have as well, leading to growing your Instagram account. And as you can see here, she has the normal, she has her link here inside her bio, she has the keyword here that leads towards the DMs connected to a ManyChat, and she does all of the normal things. However, that doesn't per se correlate to making a ton of cash, and I'll show you exactly why in a second. On top of that, she's of course doing her normal content, middle of funnel and bottom of funnel, to eventually convert people, where the bottom of funnel, what she runs, of course, is of course also the story sequences that they run. And of course, as we all know, this should lead to the DMs, where we have ManyChat that leads to the DMs if you have DM setters, but this is exactly what a lot of people are actually doing here that doesn't work, and what she was doing as well before we started to really install the process. Because if you're only running your profile like this, where you have your middle of funnel, bottom of funnel content move towards your actual profile funnel, and you have a ManyChat automation, but you have nobody talking to your leads, you're actually only focusing on the top 10% of your audience that is buying right now or is actually open to buying. But even that, of course, as we know, is not automatically what correlates to sales, because here's exactly what's happening if you're running this style of funnel. Only 2 to 10% of your total audience actually sees this if you're posting stories, and it has to do with the Instagram algorithm. So let's say that we have some numbers here where 2 to 10% of 7,140 of the audience is 143 to 714 people. So let's say that we have the 10%. That means that 14 to 71 people fall in the bracket of buying right now or are open to buying. But of course, you already know that that's not the amount of opt-ins that you're going to get on a daily basis that actually convert to sales calls and have you make a ton of deals. It still doesn't work that way, because from that 10%, only 3% is really ready to buy. So 4 to 21, and then 7% is open to buying, which is 10 to 50 people. But what happens is, of course, that you're not seeing that inside your sales calendar. They're going to go towards the DMs. They're going to opt in for a lot of free resources. They're going to have the ManyChat they're firing off. And how many people inside your audience do you actually see that opt in over and over again? And this is because of the 7-11-4 rule. Even though they may fall into that 3% buying bracket right now, Google statistics literally show that people need 7 hours on brand for 11 pieces of content, ideally on 4 different platforms. And this is the reason why a lot of people aren't actually monetizing their audiences. I'm not just talking about Whitney here that has 7,140. I'm even talking about profiles that have 1 million followers, a solid brand, still doing less than $20,000 a month. And I'll show you exactly what it is in this video. Because if we're going to redirect people from the bottom of funnel towards the DMs with a ManyChat automation, you're only tapping into that 3% that is going to click on that application link, land up on your sales calendar, and then basically buy from you. You're leaving 79% on the table. If you're advancing the 7% to the 3%, of course, that happens, and also from the 90 to the top 10%, but you can accelerate this process massively, and you do that with DM setters, and that's exactly what we did for Whitney. We went to a human-to-human connection sales cycle. It also shortened the sales cycle, because you can literally make somebody that is in bottom 90% a potential buyer literally in 24 to 36 hours by just talking to them, making sure that they're going to understand what your product is and how that is going to help them solve a certain problem, leading towards a certain outcome. The DMs are not to sell. The DMs are really designed to help people get clear on where they are right now, where they want to go, what their exact gap is, and how your offer or product is actually going to fit into that. And that is how you're going to scale, tapping into 100% of your audience. Your ability to scale your info product directly lies in your systems that allow you to tap into the other 90% of your audience. 2022 to 2024, you could do direct call to actions and actually make a bunch of cash. That's how a lot of people made a lot of money with just ManyChat automations. But it's no longer 2022 to 2024. 2025, you've heard it, you've seen it, is all about trust and connections. But the truth here, guys, is that some brands have none, some brands have a little, and some brands absolutely crush this, where direct CTAs actually do still work. And there's not a lot of brands actually out there that do that. And that is why I facilitate them with the DM setting process. because we need to focus on trust, relatability, and authority. We need to facilitate what I call the buyer state of mind that builds the belief system of people actually wanting to be on a call with you, believing in the product that you have, serving a certain problem that they are experiencing, leading towards a certain outcome. And that conviction creates actually cash. Because of that, we installed that funnel, and August was actually an easy win for Whitney because what you focus on expands. Intentionality with lead conversion dictates sales. Here you can see the exact volume that we've pushed in August, and it's not much, but we didn't need to push much because we actually just focused on the lowest hanging fruit here with the dmthesetter funnel, human-to-human connections, short sales cycles, meaning we book qualified calls in 14 messages back and forth, and we're not actually selling. We're helping people get clear on the exact outcome in relation to the content that we produce that pushes people up as well from the 90% to the top 10%. But the human-to-human connection is what does all the magic here. It's what the appointment setter actually does. And even though she had an appointment setter that had zero experience, that has never performed in this role before, with my exact frameworks, the FIRE framework and the BSM framework, we made sure that even she could turn zero into $27,000 in terms of like revenue in just 31 days total. We can actually see here that from all of these actions that they did, we've actually had only 13 calls proposed. And what we see here in terms of like calls booked is actually a little bit different for Whitney, because what this metric actually says is deals closed. So they proposed 13 calls and they actually closed 8 deals from that. And that is facilitated again by that buyer state of mind. So if you're interested in how this exact funnel works and how we actually made Whitney $27,000 in 31 days with an untrained setter, and you're experiencing the same problems and you'd also want to capitalize on the other 90% of your leads, then make sure you're going to book in a strategy session with me below to make sure how you're going to actually be able to do that yourself as well during a free audit with me personally. That's it for this video. See you in the next one.